Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to After the Snap. And it's me. It's me. I'm back. Tasha Pierce. And yeah, I had a rough week, a rough almost 2 weeks, but I'm back, I think. Now, mind you, I had been a little ill. I'd been a little sick. So I still have residual coughs and sniffles and the such. But outside of that, I'm feeling an awful lot better than I did this time last week. So thank you, thank you, thank you for everybody who reached out, who was wondering what the heck had happened to me. That's what happened. It started with my son, moved over to my grandson, and we have a house guest, and moved over to the house guest after that. And after that, last but not least, it was me. And my son's girlfriend, she got it, but she didn't get it as bad, and I'm really glad she didn't because she is expecting. So I think I might have gotten it the worst out of the bunch of us. It hit me a little bit different, but I'm here, and I'm glad to be here. So hey there, Win Grace, glad that you could make it. Yeah, we tried a live stream on my other channel, Sinister Silhouette. So if you've not subscribed there, please do. That one is a little bit heavier than what we talk about over here. It's in the true crime, conspiracy, paranormal, that type of ish. But yeah, so my other channel, I tried a live stream that didn't go very well. So I knew I had to wait to get into all of the episodes that I missed while I was hacking. So I'm really glad that you could make it today, Win Grace, and hopefully some of our other regulars do as well, because I missed y'all. I did. I really missed talking our Star Trek stuff. Hey there, Justin. Thank you. Thank you for your concern. It was just a real bad flu, man. Yeah, it knocked me on my butt. And yeah, so this time I'm ready. I got some tea with me. I think we can do this. I think we can do it. So before I move any further, I want to let you guys know that we are not discussing those old scientists. Not today. We will do that on Wednesday. Many people were not aware that those old scientists dropped early. So we want to give them an opportunity to catch up. We're not trying to spoil anybody's good time, not trying to rain on nobody's parade. So when you get an opportunity, if you've not yet done so, those old scientists is there for your consumption. And I cannot wait to discuss to see how you guys felt about those old scientists. But before we even get to those, we have to get past charades and lost in translation. This live stream is going to be instead of a video review, because I typically will do a video review and then I will have this deep dive discussion that we do on Sundays generally. But I got to get caught up somehow, and this is how I have determined that I'm going to do it. If you haven't noticed, I changed a little bit back here while I was sick. So there are some different, the background is different because it's not nothing happening back there. We'll figure something out for back there. But I just wanted to move things around a little bit. And as a continued public service announcements coming from Win Grace, they moved up the rest of the season. So this season will end 1 week earlier than we anticipated before San Diego Comic-Con, because that's what brought all of this about. They showed the episode early at San Diego Comic-Con, and I think it became really apparent to them that they needed to release it for the rest of the audience because it would start to be spoiled if they didn't. So I'm glad they did, because I couldn't go to San Diego Comic-Con. So we got some news. Yeah, we got to start with the news. And The first little bit of news that I got, and there's quite a few little pieces of news here sprinkled in with some Beyond the Holodeck. I have not forgotten about Beyond the Holodeck either. So, sprinkling in some news into this, Paramount Plus captured 1% of overall TV viewing in June and is the 11th streaming service to be independently reported in the gauge. Now, viewing to Paramount Plus was boosted by its original series, Star Trek Strange New World, so yay, which generated nearly 1 billion viewing minutes in June. 1 billion viewing minutes, but for the week in question, it was 393 million minutes viewed. That was good enough to land Star Trek Strange New Worlds at number 8 on the Nielsen ratings. So yay, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. You guys are putting Paramount on the map, and hopefully it can kind of stay there. We still have some other stuff coming from Star Trek, and we want eyes on those projects. Speaking of projects that we want eyes on, and that, people in hell want ice water, I guess. All 20 season 1 episodes are currently available to purchase digitally of Star Trek Prodigy. So if you want the entire season for your collection digitally, it is available right now. You can go wherever Amazon, Prime, you can order it from there, Apple, you can get it anywhere that you get digital media. So let me see. Oh, we got Norman. Norman says, can only be here briefly. Of course, I'm most jazzed about those scientists will be discussed next time. Yes. Also, Futurama is back too. I didn't realize that. Given that in solidarity with creators, I do. I kind of look forward to seeing what they do with Futurama. It's a whole lot easier to bring those series back in an animated format than it would be if those actors had aged live action kind of way. So I'm glad. I'll be glad to see what they do with Futurama. Thank you for bringing me that, Norman. Also, while we're talking about Star Trek Prodigy, Volume 2. So the first 10 episodes dropped on digital and Blu-ray already. Volume 2 is coming to Blu-ray DVD on September 26th. So if you want that as part of your physical media collection, we just have a few more weeks before that will be available as well. So that's just something else to think about if you want to support the creators in that way. Justice said, that's good on Picard and Strange New Worlds. Yes, both of them cracked that Nielsen top 10 rating. So hopefully we can continue the interest in this kind of Trek, this new Trek. But we shall see, right? We shall see. Norman says, we still need to hear about season 2 of Prodigy. Who picks it up? Where will it land? We don't know. We're hoping it lands somewhere. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it will definitely land somewhere. It's just a matter of where, because we know that Star Trek Prodigy was one of the crown jewels of this franchise. I don't know, I'm not going to continue to beat the dead horse, but then again, I am. Because I said I'm going to continuously talk about Star Trek Prodigy until we get some type of information. So this is just a way of keeping Star Trek Prodigy at the top of our minds. We're going to keep talking about it over here. Justin is saying, yes, Futurama is great. Always enjoyed it. Buy Prodigy. The more it sells, the better the chance we get more. Even DVD releases are good. Anything. Because one of our Beyond the Holodeck questions is concerning Star Trek Prodigy, but I'll wait till we get there. Speaking of Beyond the Holodeck, we got our first one of the day. There are a couple. This one is coming from me. This is a question, of course, that I sat and I had a lot of time to think. Do you think we'll see a mirror episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds? Now, that's just not necessarily saying this season, because we pretty much know what we're getting this season coming up. So, do you think we'll see a mirror episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds at any point during the series run? We don't know how many seasons of it we're going to get, but we do know, I think, that we'll be getting at least a third season, right? So if we get a mirror universe episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, what would you like to see? What is something that you would like to see show up in that mirror universe episode? Let me know in the chat. I'm interested in hearing. I'm going to tell y'all what I would like to see. Quite simply, I like to see the characters that we will not see again. I like to see them go into the mirror universe. Now, you know that when Spock and Kirk and Uhura and Sulu, when they all went into the mirror universe in TOS, that was the first time, technically, that that crew had seen the mirror universe. But that doesn't mean that Pike, M'Benga, Ortega's, Pelia, La'an, those characters could potentially go to the mirror universe and meet their mirror counterparts and just be told, hey, you got to keep this under the rug. You know, you can't make any mention of this. We don't want to ruin, I guess, a timeline or a universe, or we don't want anybody else knowing about this. I think that would be a decent way of getting those characters into the mirror universe. And the other part, the second part of what I'd like to see is those characters run into Mirror Lorca. That would be high on my mirror universe wish list. Let me know what you guys think. Okay. Wingray says, I bet we get a mirror episode, but he doesn't think it'll be the expected way. So if we don't get it the expected way, but we still get an opportunity to kind of bump into the antithesis of the characters that we know, I think I'd be down. Wingray says he'd also like to see Hemmer, Mirror freaking Hemmer. I forgot. I guess I got a little taste of Hemmer in Lost in Translation, and then that kind of gave me my feel. I too think that it would be a perfect opportunity to bring back Hemmer in the mirror universe. So I think that would be a good idea as well. Norman says TNG and Voyager refrain from doing a mirror. If there is, please, no progressional story like DS9, which turned out to be one of the rare disappointing threads of DS9. That, yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to tie into any other mirror appearance of these characters, especially since as we push into TOS, these are characters, or at least the ones that I mentioned, these are ones that we probably won't get to see too much unless they make some Strange New World episodes that kind of overlap, which is something that I hope they do, BT dubs. But if they don't do that, then we know how the mirror universe shows up in TOS. I just like to get the experience with Pike. Angus says Emperor Tilly the Lethal. That would be good, because then you could also bring in a couple more Discovery baddies in the mirror universe. Emperor Killy. Yes, Emperor Killy. So yeah. Now I have here saying join us in the Discord. Links in the description. You might want to ignore that. Somebody told me that link is busted, so I need to put a new link there, and I forget every time I sit here. So don't try to follow that link. I don't think it's working. Wingray says, I would actually like it if they pulled an Enterprise and did a full Strange New Worlds mirror episode. No crossover, just fully set there. Yeah, that would work too, because then you could still use characters like Uhura and Spock and the such. So yeah, that would be a good use of them for a Strange New World mirror episode. Or maybe cross over a character who doesn't need to come back. Yeah. Who could we send over there and never to be seen again? Justice says, yes, I would love that if they did a mirror show. I would like to see Lorca also, but he would really like to see an evil Pike. And we got a glimpse of Pike kind of being his base self. In what was that episode? In what was the name of the episode? Y'all help me. Help me. Oh, Among the Lotus Eaters. That's the one. We got to see Pike be in his base self, and that was him still kind of pulling back. I would like to see no holds barred Pike in the mirror universe. I think that would give Anson Mount an opportunity to flex his muscles. So it's good to know that somebody else wants to see it. I'm looking forward to seeing where else they could take these characters prior to us bumping into TOS. So next, we're going to talk about TAS, but not necessarily TAS. We're going to talk about the animated, the commemorating the golden anniversary of the animated series. CBS Studios is creating live, all new animated promotional spots in the TAS style, featuring fan favorite characters voiced by cast members from across the Star Trek universe, including icons like Jonathan Frakes as Will Riker, Doug Jones as Saru, and Armin Shimmerman as Quark. So I would love to see, well, I'm going to love to see what they do with that little bit of IP that, it's kind of overlooked, at least by me. I know there are a bunch of people who really love the animated series. I have not seen I may have seen an episode. I'm pretty sure I've seen an episode, but I don't remember. So I need to get into the animated series. That's A. And then B, I am really interested in seeing how they bring these shorts to life. Norman said Mirror Lorca is theoretically gone, but we never know what happened to Prime Lorca. This is correct. We never saw what happened to Prime Lorca. Now, Mirror Lorca, we saw some things happen, but did we really see what we saw? So, I mean, we can see, I think the door is open for either one of them, even though it did really appear that he was gone. I think that we could see potentially either one, and either one would be good. More Jason Isaacs is that cannot be a bad thing. Wingray says we could see Paul Wesley's Kirk kill Pike at the end of the episode to take over the Enterprise. That would be dope. Do you think they would do that? You think they would go there though? Norman says someone out there has been doing TAS style of classic Berman era episodes. Love the one they did on Threshold. I'm almost afraid to watch it. Let me know where I can find that, Norman. When Grace says Gazelle Automation is the channel and they are excellent. Thank you. Gazelle Automation. I will take a look. I'll check them out. Justice says, yes, Win Grace, I was thinking about that also, but I would have Pike secretly live and leave it open for a future story. All of those sound like really good ideas for Mirror Universe episodes, and also for further TAS style episodes. Gazelle Automation is what our think tank is telling you to look up. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that is all about as well. Then we got some more San Diego Comic-Con news. In season 4 of Star Trek Lower Decks, they dropped a synopsis. So, in season 4 of Star Trek Lower Decks, an unknown force is destroying starships and threatening galactic peace. Luckily, the crew of the USS Cerritos isn't important enough for stuff like that. Instead, Ensigns Mariner, Boimler, Tendi, Rutherford, and Provisional Ensign Talin are keeping up with their Starfleet duties, avoiding malevolent computers, and getting stuck in a couple caves, all while encountering new and classic aliens along the way. When you look at the new poster for Star Trek Lower Decks, it is it is made in the style of Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. You see that the 4th season aligns very nicely with the 4th movie in the Star Trek universe. And this is, of course, the 4th time they've done this. So it looks like Star Trek Lower Decks is going to go back to some of our faves, especially one of my fave characters that was introduced in Star Trek Lower Decks was Badgie, and we see Badgie on the poster. So hopefully that means we're going to get some Badgie this season. Okay. Oh, well, thank you for being with us while you could, Norman. And I look forward as well to seeing everybody on Wednesday to discuss that crossover episode that we are not discussing today. Okay. Our next piece of Star Trek related news was we found out we were right. We were right about that Star Trek Strange New Worlds episode called Subspace Rhapsody. We figured way back when the episode titles were first released, me, Windgrace, and Reinhardt. Yeah, we sat down together. We did a show, and we talked about what we thought those episodes were going to be about. And quite frankly, I think we got maybe one of them really wrong, which was Charades. But the rest of them, we were pretty on the nose about, to include Subspace Rhapsody, which is going to be a musical. We called it way back then, and I told you even back then, I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it because I'm not a musical person. But there have been some series who have had musical episodes that have done an outstanding job with those episodes. Now, let's see. I'm going to pick up here who is doing the writing for those episodes as far as the music is concerned. Let's see. Yeah, and of course, this is one of the big swings that they talked about during the season. We've seen a couple of them, but this one right here is a really big swing. I see the chatter online is divided as usual when it comes to new Trek. There are some people who are just not in the mood to give a new format a chance. I say let's just give it a chance. Let's see. It can't be it can't be that bad, right? At least I don't think so. Okay, so the special musical episode, Subspace Rhapsody, will feature 10 original songs plus a Subspace Rhapsody version of the series' main title with music and lyrics by Kay Hanley, who did Letters to Cleo, and Tom Polshay, who also did Letters to Cleo and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. So you can pre-save the Subspace Rhapsody soundtrack on all digital music streaming platforms. You know, it's usually about selling something, and they are going to be selling the soundtrack. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to buy the soundtrack because, like I said, I'm not a musical lover. I'm not that kind of person. But for those of us who are really into musical episodes of your series, this is right up your alley. There are so many people, like I said, I see Chris is here, and Chris is saying he hates it. He hates it so much. But But Wingray says, do you think one of the songs will actually be "We're on a Trek, we're on a Star Trek"? I hope not. I'm not looking forward to that song. I'm sorry. Justin says, if Buffy can do it, I believe Star Trek can. Also, I hope there's a song in it called Big Swings. They promised us some really big swings, and this is one. 100%. But again, no surprise if you're a regular watcher, listener to Engage Live here, because we called this a couple months ago. So yeah, I hate to like brush my shoulders off, but we called it. We knew as soon as we saw the name of the episode, Subspace Rhapsody, we knew what it was going to be. And we also knew Under the Cloak of War, which is the next new episode after those old scientists. The next was Under the Cloak of War, which we also called as a Klingon episode. The cloak being Klingon cloaking device. So we did pretty good with this season so far. Okay, we did that. Christopher says, and I always say Christopher when I'm reading, and I know I should say Chris. Chris says, does this goofy format of Strange New World mean it isn't good? Not necessarily, but it is a Star Trek. It's Star Trek. As long as the people who own the IP say this is Star Trek, it's Star Trek. We do not, unfortunately, we do not own the IP. So even if we continuously say to the top of our lungs, which I'm not one of those people now, I ain't saying that I'm one of those people, but those people that are shouting from the mountaintops that this isn't Star Trek, until you own the IP, the people who own the IP can call Trek whatever they want. And this is no different. And I say this probably at least once or twice a month. This is no different than the swings that they took when they introduced a black captain, a woman captain, the whole premise of Voyager, Enterprise, all of these series that people hated when they first came out, they all face the same type of pushback that these Trek series are facing. It's just new people doing the pushing. You know, some of the same olds are still around pushing back. But I think that this is because we fall in love with a certain Trek, and Trek becomes that. And while that is, not necessarily a bad thing, you are keeping a series from growing, a franchise, not the series so much. We're keeping a franchise from growing by telling it what it isn't. It is not that for you, and that is fine. It is subjective. Art is subjective in all of its iterations, whether we're talking music. You may hate hip hop. I love hip hop. I was born and bred because it's in my veins. There are people who hate country music. I don't mind country music. Don't hate it. Don't particularly like it either. But that doesn't mean it's not music. You get what I'm saying? So this is the same thing that Star Trek has faced, and it's always faced it. And unfortunately, because of the fickle nation of fandoms, especially when you get to be such a huge franchise like Star Trek, your fandom, you've become accustomed to a certain thing and you don't want to see it grow. I get it. Wig Ray says, coming up next, the Christopher Pike Variety Hour. Look, if these actors and actresses have fun doing this, I would be all together here for a Christopher Pike Variety Hour. We saw some crazy stuff with Star Wars coming up. It's just you just got to give it. We were younger. At least I was. I mean, some of you guys probably weren't even born yet. But I can remember some of the crazy stuff that we saw with Star Wars that was okay with me because I was a kid, but Now, there are people who will fight you tooth and nail if you try to do something new or different with Star Wars. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. We're gonna put some heat on my vocal cords. And Christopher, I keep calling you Christopher. Chris Pike. Chris is saying hello to the chat. Chris also says, look, if they want to make a Star Trek musical movie, I can get behind that. But I'm not okay with doing is taking the show that was pitched as a return to traditional Trek and turning it all weird. Because I don't remember how they pitched this show. I know that they were saying, we're going to go to some strange new worlds. We're going to seek out new life and civilizations. We're going to boldly go where no one has gone before. I do remember those being parts of the promise. And in essence, have we not gotten that? Would a musical be a strange new world for Star Trek? Heck yeah. Except for, let's count that one with the space hippies that I absolutely abhorred. But here we are 50 years later, and I guess I'm still alive. It didn't kill me. But I didn't like the hippie episode. Didn't like that one. Was it something about Eden? I forgot the name of it. So Chris says he doesn't own the IP, but he owns his interest level in the IP. And that is a huge point because your interest level is yours. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. Now, what they are hoping, at least from where I sit, what they're hoping is to build on a fandom that they already have. Because again, you got old heads like me. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm going to watch Lower Decks, and I'm not going to like probably a third of the episodes or 2/3 of the episodes. I might like 1/3 of the episodes, but I'm there. But when you start talking about new fans, I was in Clarence's chat last week when I couldn't talk. I was in the chat, and one of the young ladies in his chat said that, hey, let's not talk bad about Lower Decks, because Lower Decks is how I got my son interested in Star Trek, and this is what we do together now. We watch she and her teenage son watch Star Trek Lower Decks together. That is what they're trying to do. So with us, yeah, they want to keep our interest. They want to keep our attention. But at the end of the day, for this franchise to survive, and I know I say this at least twice a month, for this franchise to survive past me, past you, we need new eyes on it. And if this is a way that they can get new eyes on their project, I'm all for it. Because at the end of it all, I want Star Trek to be here when I'm not. I want people to be able to go back and watch these videos and be like, is that what they got out of this? I am not being selfish with the love. I want this to be here when I'm gone. And the only way that that's going to happen is to keep it fresh for an audience who will appreciate these quote unquote big swings that we are like, some of it we're hating, and I get it. We're not going to all like the same thing, but I'm not going to shit on it. I'm not going to just crap on it. Wayne Gray says, I think the musical can be good. I think they should have gone the psych route and released it as a standalone special. Slotting it into one of the 10 episodes of the season is bold. It is, but they said it. That is one of the things they promised, big swings. They'd do a Community. I didn't watch Community. 100%. This is all Community. Didn't watch Community. But I did see the Buffy episode that was a musical. It was another, besides Community, because I didn't watch Community. Besides Community, there was something else that went all musical on us as well. And it was one of the better episodes of it, if I can remember what it was. I don't think it's fair to say that if you don't like this Strange New Worlds goof, you don't want the franchise to grow. I love Lower Decks, but Strange New Worlds was supposed to be more like original Trek. Now, and I can't dare to speak for you, but I can tell you from where I sit, and I think that's what I said. It's like from where I'm sitting, it appears that we are going back to where we were when TNG came out. And then from there, everybody fell in love with TNG. And then when DS9 came out, people didn't like that. And then DS9, it grew on some folks. And then after that, Voyager, we didn't like that. Then Voyager started to grow on people. And then we waited a little while for Enterprise. And guess what? You'll never guess. People didn't like that. Then we waited a long time when we got Discovery, and people didn't like that. So it's to me, it's history repeating itself. And every time we went through a period like this, the franchise survived. So let's hope, for me, as far as my hope is that the franchise continues to thrive, even though we've got a bit of a faction in between the fandom right now, and that the fracture between the fandom is not because one side is right and one side is wrong, but it's, to me, the one thing that if one thing that we all agree on is that we love Star Trek, and for us to get more Star Trek, it seems counterproductive to that cause to crap on the Star Trek we have. Doesn't mean that we have to like it, but there is a way to have a discourse without it turning, ugly. And I've seen a lot of ugly over the last few weeks. A lot. As again, and I know that I make no qualms about this. Number one, that I liked season 3 of Star Trek Picard, but number 2, I believe that it fell too heavily into we need the nostalgia. There were other things that could have been done with the final season of that series, rather than to lean so heavily into nostalgia. But as far as the being a dissenting voice amongst many, I'm not. There are a lot of people, in fact, more people loved it than felt. And because I can't say I didn't like it, I enjoyed it. It was just like, wow, we went back to the well. We did the easy thing. That's the way I felt about season 3 of Star Trek Picard. But I covered it, and I covered it honestly. I did not talk complete crap. The only part I talk crap about is like, when are we going to find out what the hell is going on with Jack? Y'all remember, but if y'all was there, everybody was there. Justice says, I like all Star Trek, but there is some that is written and shot better. Yes, but overall, they're all they all are on an adventure. And well, look now, that Ghost Candle episode almost killed me. It almost killed me. As a matter of fact, the writers, they should have attempted murder charges on them, like as we speak. But yeah, it didn't kill me. It didn't hurt me. Space Hippie episode came out before I was born, so it was already a thing before I even came along. That Ghost Candle episode, the Ghost Candle episode was bad. It was bad, but it was also, I think about the freaking Threshold. I think about the Salamander episode that bothered me too. But here we are. I talked really bad about that in the video. I did. I talked bad about that that episode. I did. Justice says, looking back at the Ghost Candle episode was bold. It was bold, and it's definitely different, but it's groundbreaking on some of what they were trying to show for the time and type of the show. It was, yeah, it took some guts to do the Ghost Candle episode. Now, when Grace is correct here, it's easier to hide a bold swing in 24 episodes than in 10. But again, we're stuck. Excuse me. We are stuck in the era that we're in. And in the era that we're in, the attention span of viewers and the streaming execs alike seems to be, yep, 10, 12 episodes. That sounds good. Give us that. And while I don't particularly like it either, I would like to see, can we get at least 15 episodes? I would like to see at least 15 episodes. But you see how they're now, they're cutting corners all over the place in streaming. Streaming, this experiment that they have started with, it's not going the way that they planned. And I think we're lucky that we're getting 10 episodes. I think that they can knock these down to like 8, 6 episodes. If they can do that, like the way Disney Plus does with the Marvel series, they're usually right within 6 to 8 episodes, except for I think Daredevil is going to give us a longer season. But other than that, these other series, they're talking 6 to 8 episodes. Hurry up, get it done. And while I've liked those 6 to 8 episodes, because for the most part, they're not hitting us with a bunch of fluff, I would like to see a story fleshed out a bit more. And here we are. This is our reality now. 10 episode seasons. Community Psych, Scrubs, and Buffy. Yes, that's what I'm thinking. Community was a TV show that after its second season, they really engaged in a lot of tropes. Sometimes they did a comedy, sometimes a rom-com, sometimes sci-fis, sometimes horror, even musicals. So it worked for Community, I guess, because like I say, didn't watch it, but it worked for Community, I guess. And people, they say, shit, let's try our hand at it. Because that's what basically, yeah. When you say they're doing Community, that's basically what we're getting. We're getting a different genre almost every week. I would like to see their hands at a true to life horror, like true horror. Give us that. But of course, it's kind of tough to do when you have the you want to be not rated mature and all of that stuff, I guess. You think Grey's Anatomy did a musical as well? How I Met Your Mother is a series. You notice where my thinking is always in if it's not hanging out in the sci-fi fantasy neighborhood, I'm like, yeah, I might have watched a couple of episodes, but I don't remember them. Chris says, I'm not a fan of everything named Star Trek. If it's not good and not what I want, not what I want, I won't watch it. And that is definitely a prerogative. I'm not a fan of everything named Star Trek. However, I am a fan of Star Trek. And then I sit here and I do this. So to skip one would be disingenuous of me, but it's not disingenuous of you, especially now that Star Trek is behind a paywall. If you don't want to watch it, I say keep your coin, because the next series that comes out, you may want to watch, and you can pick back up there. And it's nothing like the world doesn't stop spinning if you don't watch a series that you don't like. But because this is what I'm choosing to do for the time being, is sit and talk about Star Trek. And I am a fan of most things called Star Trek, not all. If you haven't noticed, I'm rarely talk about the movies, and that's not that I hated them. It's just that I wasn't a huge fan. um, and that's a whole a gap in my knowledge. It seemed like the same with TAS. Didn't really watch it. I'm going to, because I sit here and I do this, and why not? It's not. Let me make sure. That flu almost killed me. Watching Star Trek the animated series, I don't think it's gonna kill me. Justice says, what I hate is, and not anyone on this chat, but some people can't ever accept new ideas or things change back and forth. Yes, some newer fans just can't respect the past and let it still have a place. And it's a effed up place to be in when you are straddling the line, because I like the new stuff, and there is a place for the new stuff. There's also a place for what happened in the past, and you have to give homage to the past, because without all of that stuff, without TOS and all of that, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So from moving from TOS to TNG and seeing the changes that were made, and there were quite a few, seeing the changes that were made to what had been established as this is quote unquote canon, that's why so many people were up in arms back in the day. I was a younger person. I wasn't married to what happened in TOS, even though I did. That's what made me watch TNG. I did like it enough to say, well, I'm going to give this next series a chance. And we saw changes. Some changes to me were for the better. But all of us who get tied up in a bunch over what they consider canon, there was no canon in TOS. They were just making shit up as they moved along. We didn't even hear the word Starfleet as far as this is what we're going to continue calling this organization. We didn't get a name for it for many episodes. It was the two-part, the menagerie episode. That's when we stuck with Starfleet. They called that shit all kinds of different names before then. There was no canon. They didn't know that this stuff was going to still be being talked about 50 years later. It is a testament to how well the stories were crafted in the 1960s that we still have enough room to continue telling these stories in the 21st century. It's amazing to me. And the fact that these stories can still be told in a new and different way, to me, it's just, it's again, it's a testament to how well thought out this idea and how much room and latitude there was within the confines of the original idea for this thing to grow. And look where we are, all these series and episodes later. And yep, out of 800 and some episodes, maybe you don't like 200 of them. But God, you still got 600 episodes. So yeah, it's okay. I'm having, I'm getting back in the swing of reading out loud. Usually I'm like translating stuff as I'm reading, but today is like I can't keep up. When Grace says the attention span of viewers must be horrible if they show flashbacks to the same episode. I'm looking at you, Ad Astra. Yes. That kind of, I was like, that was a couple of minutes that we can't get back. I wish we could get that back. But here we are. Respect to Chris for saying that he's not going to watch something that he's not interested in. And that's all of our prerogative. Clarence, what's going on, sir? You, sir, are what made me get up out of my little raggedy bed and say, let me get up and see if I can do this. The last time I tried to sit and talk, I got all choked up, and it wasn't for a good reason. So I'm doing better today. I've only stopped to cough once. Wingray says TOS basically an anthology show wrapped in an enterprise framing device. And yeah, every episode could, it did its own thing. Enterprise uh, was the glue that held everything together. And yeah, but as far as this musical is concerned, like I said, we called it. We knew it was coming. And now, okay, it's coming. You either gonna watch it or you ain't. um, I don't think that it is going to kill the fandom one way or the other. You watch it and like it, you watch it and dislike it, or you don't watch it at all. And I guess those are our options. But if you don't watch it at all, you don't know whether you would have liked it or not. Justice says, I just dislike when people end up disliking each other over Star Trek. Now, if someone is being disrespectful or name calling, I get it, stand your ground. But Star Trek is to bring us together, not divide. I think that I think there's room for a friendly discourse. And I don't think that the discourse on this channel has ever been anything outside of friendly. Once in a blue moon, you'll get somebody come in and they'll drop a hateful statement or something like that. But for the most part, it's a conversation. And just like any other conversation, number one, the person with the mic is going to always sound the loudest. So there's that. But then also, number two, you can say what you want. It doesn't mean that the majority of people are going to agree with you, but you are still entitled to that opinion. But when you come to a space where we are going to talk it out, it might feel like, oh God, I can't say anything because they feel like this. But that's what happens when you come into a space where most of the people are liking something and you are the dissenting voice. In every space needs a dissenting voice. There should always be somebody who offers a different perspective, because if not, then we're in an echo chamber and things never get better. We never get anything outside of what we expect from an echo chamber. When you get something else, it at least makes you think, okay, can I mount a defense for this thing that I love? If not, then we need to rethink the thing that we love, right? Or at least an episode of it. Wegray says, my thoughts, complain about what you don't like about modern Trek. Just don't attack the people who like it. And that's what I mean. It becomes less about the thing and more about the people. And that starts to get, there are groups in, there are groups on social media, specifically on Facebook, that live to argue and fight, name call. And if they could fight, I'm talking about literally throw hands, they probably would throw hands about how much they differ or their opinions differ on Star Trek. And it's never that serious. It's never that serious. It's just, you either like it or you don't. And Clarence says he's okay with the musical. There's going to be a story reason, I think. And I truly hope so. But I believe that they will bring some way that it fits into the story. It's not going to just be a bunch of people that all of a sudden they decide that today we're going to sing, y'all. Today we're going to sing. No, I think that there will be a reason for the singing. And I'm here for it. And if it's not good, I'm going to say it ain't good to me. Don't mean it won't be good to you. Justice says, yes, what we do is a friendly discussion and disagreement. We're doing it right on this chat We're doing it right on in this chat, in this channel. But some channels or articles, people get nasty and it's just not cool. Don't go where you ain't celebrated. Because over here, come on over here. If you guys want to just have a conversation, you don't have to like it. But just have without resorting to, again, the name calling and the such. Because it goes to it goes from I don't like this to it's stupid and blah blah blah. Now it's almost like if I like it, you're calling me stupid too. And I could be a whole lot of things, but stupid ain't one of them. So that's that. We talked about this musical. I knew the musical was going to take a little while to get through. We still got another Beyond the Holodeck. So now, has anyone else noticed, and this is coming from Reddit user P Lam Odd. I don't know what that means, but y'all see the word. Has anyone else noticed that the Ready Room now acts like Prodigy never existed? The most recent episode of the Ready Room had a list of every crossover episode except Prodigy's. In fact, Prodigy is consistently the one show they never mention. Ever since they removed Prodigy from Paramount, it's like they're making an effort to scrub that show from existence. And I chose that question from Reddit because Clarence expressed a similar sentiment in our Discord. So I know Clarence noticed it. It went over my head. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think I watched the Prodigy episode of the episode of the Ready Room that talked about crossovers. I didn't watch it. So, went over my head. But people are taking notice that it's almost as if they're trying to say Prodigy. Well, Prodigy who? Prodigy. What is Prodigy? Oh, y'all making things up. What no show called Prodigy? That's the way it's starting to come across to the fandom. And I want to know if anybody else besides Clarence has paid attention to that. Excuse me. Clarence says, I'm not mad at anyone that likes what I don't. Not going to yuck your yum. The problem is that haters try to burn it all down. Exactly. They just all want it to go away. It's just, if it doesn't fit whatever their idea of quote unquote real Trek is, they just want it gone. They don't, it's not a consideration for what other people might like. And they might have very valid reasons, but their very valid reasons is it stops being valid when you're telling me that my reasons for liking it are invalid. Then it just turns into a fight. Everybody's their nails are out. Yeah, Clarence pointed that out in the Discord. Wingray says, in my opinion, Prodigy is the most consistently good product of the current era, and they don't care. And isn't that something? I think that and I can't say that we all agree, because that would be me once again putting how I feel on the entire fandom. But there is a huge contingent of people who feel like that Star Trek Prodigy was Star Trek at its best. And it was speaking to a young generation. And I was so looking forward to having the more you know conversations with my grandchildren and the such. And now, I can still have them. I can go out and buy the physical media, and we can watch Star Trek Prodigy whenever we want or wherever it lands. But then if they're doing everything in their power to pretend like it's not Star Trek, then it's just becomes a great sci-fi TV show for families. And Justice says, yes, Clarence took the words right out of my mouth. I agree with you. Yeah. So I didn't want to, of course, I didn't intend for our conversation to us to be an hour inside of our conversation, and we haven't spoken one word about um, charades or lost in translation. But I guess it's a conversation that we need to have every now and then. We need to address um, that everybody does not agree with us as far as what we like about Star Trek Strange New Worlds. There will always be somebody who feels differently. And, even in our own chats, we'll find people uh, feel differently. But it's all in the way that you present your argument. And I think it's always been presented in a respectful manner. When Gray says, and Prodigy was poised to grow with a new audience. And that is another thing. We've got some Star Trek. And honestly, most of the Star Trek that we've got, I still would sit and watch with the kids. I don't know what their interest level would be because it's live action. Some of it would hit better than others with the youngins. But Star Trek Prodigy was made with them in mind, and it could have grown with them as that demographic got a little older. The content on Star Trek Prodigy could have grown with them, and I would have loved to have seen that. Claire says, I think Robert Duncan McNeil may have vaguely dropped a Prodigy season 2 spoiler on his show. He mentions a beloved show that he recently worked on that was finished and canceled by the network. I think that can't be anything but. I mean, I guess the only other thing it could be is Discovery, but Discovery at least still has one more season before we're saying goodbye. And speaking of which, that's one of the things that I did not add to this to our news presentation because I couldn't play the trailer because it's a 5-minute clip. So they released a 5-minute clip from Star Trek Discovery's first episode of the 5th season, and there's things that could be discussed, but because we can't watch it because they ain't gonna do nothing but just tell me that later on I can't make money on the live stream. And while I'm not like making money hand over fist anyway, I still would like to be able to, get some use that towards getting paid. They had a great strike discussion on a recent episode. And look, I started listening to that episode as I was preparing for today's stream. And I just never got to the part where they were talking about the strike. Was it the episode with Ethan Phillips? Was it that episode? Am I listening to the right one? Because I know you linked it, but I had to do this on my device in the bathroom and not the device in my bedroom. So I couldn't use that link. Anywho, let me know if the Ethan Phillips episode was the one that had that discussion, because I do want to hear. I want to hear it. Justice says, yes, I've seen that also about Prodigy. I think they don't want to have to talk about it or put praise on it because that would make them wrong about getting rid of it, I guess. Yeah, they have to, I guess they have to make it look like they made a solid business decision when it actually sucked. It was actually a horrible business decision. And I really and truly say this with all honesty. I hope that it turns around and bites them dead in their ass a little later. I really do. Okay, so I'm going to have to. Wingray says, Tom Paris was on Lower Decks. It's conceivable he got it confused with Prodigy. These actors usually aren't even fans. And I don't know. I honestly don't listen to the Delta Flyers as much as I probably should. I'm more into the Shuttle Pod show. So shame on me I might start listening to the Delta Flyers a little bit more. So it was the one with Michelle Hurd and Quark on it. So I will have to find that one, or I'll listen to it via the link that you provided. What else? What else? What else? We going into finally our double feature, and then we're gonna make it quick because wow, been talking an hour already. So we are into Star Trek Strange New World Charades. I didn't get an opportunity to talk this one out with you all. Star Trek Strange New World, Season 2, Episode 5, Charades, was written by Henry Alonso Myers and Kathryn Lynn and directed by Jordan Canning. The star date is 1789.3. Have you guys noticed the star dates have been jumping all over the place? They're not like in a linear order. And I don't know if that means anything, because in the original series, the star dates was all over the damn place. It hardly ever came one right after the other. And I think that they are taking a page out of that book. But then when you look at the star date for Una's trial versus this one, they're pretty far apart. So tell me if you guys noticed that. Anywho, a shuttle accident leads to Spock's Vulcan DNA being removed by aliens, making him fully human and unprepared to face T'Pring's family during an important ceremonial dinner. This one was a comedy, and it was a comedy in the true sense of the words. We don't have to dive too deep into it. You guys, we sat down with Clarence on discussing Trek and his crew, and I listened to them chop it up, and much of their commentary I agreed with. I wasn't as keen on the episode as Clarence and the guys on discussing Trek, but I did not dislike this episode. I liked it. I liked it enough. It was funny. It still had that same underlying message of people. You having part of the information. There's a bunch of misinformation that people are acting on in every single episode this season. There has been that underlying thread that every episode showed somebody acting on a bit of misinformation. And this was another one of the cases. Spock had been turned completely human. He's got to meet up with T'Pring and her mom and dad, and we got to see the dynamic between her parents, which we saw what a henpecked Vulcan man looked like. His wife is kind of the I wouldn't say she wore the pants in the relationship. It's more or less the men. A man knows when to go against his significant other, his wife, and he did not find any cause to do so in this episode. By the same token, we saw T'Pring and her dynamic with Spock. Looks like it would have been a more modern take on a Vulcan relationship, all the way up to the point where she realizes, hey, he doesn't trust me. And for many a moon watching Amok Time back in the day, you'll look at this and be like, dang, T'Pring was like, she was really gangster about the way she decided that she's going to be with someone else, but it was also because of the way she had been treated. Now, this is us, of course, this is being retconned, it's being written into existence, but that is something that I did like about this. It did shed a little light on why she behaved the way she did in Amok Time. I still am not 100% sure how we're going to get to Amok Time from where we are now in Strange New Worlds, because in a long time they hadn't seen each other in God knows how long. And here we have them seeing each other a couple of times a season, where in TOS they hadn't seen each other in forever, and they definitely hadn't been intimate. So looking at the way things look now, that has changed a bit. I'll see. I'm pretty sure they'll figure out a way to bring it all back around. When Grace says, I wish I had time for all these podcasts. It's hard. You know what? When I listen to podcasts in the wee hours of the night, excuse me, most of the time it's me when it's quiet, and I put a list together, a playlist, and I could probably, before I fall asleep, I could probably listen to 4 episodes. So I spend maybe 4 hours just listening to podcasts and playing spades on my phone. And then, yeah. So when Grace says there was a joke about these star dates in the new Lower Decks crossover episode. You know what? I paid attention to one of the jokes, but I don't think that one landed on me. I'm gonna have to watch it again before we talk about it on Wednesday. So yeah, the charades, and much like Clarence said, the way they came about the title of this episode was a throwaway line by Pike when he was, trying to stall for time, and he said, "But we have to play this game, and it's called charades, and you have to guess a word." And the father, I forgot his name. The father is like, "Was it a sacred word or?" Nope, it's just a word. But that was like the throwaway line, charades. I don't know if there is another hidden meaning for the title that it just went over my head. But again, I did enjoy this episode to a degree. Spock making the sacrifice for Nurse Chapel. He put the shields over her that showed his affection, the amount that he cared for her. Once again, putting her in a place where he wasn't going to let her die. He would die himself before he was going to allow her to die. But then those aliens put him back together, and they put him together as a human. Then his mama shows up on the ship, and his mama is going to recognize for sure, 100% sure, that this is not her regular kid, that something is wrong with him. Especially when he shows up in this skull cap like he did in City on the Edge of Forever. Well, I'm gonna wear a skull cap to cover my ears, but he's covering the fact that his ears are human. Well, Spock basically, that makes sense. Duh. The whole episode was a charade. Spock was pretending to be a Vulcan. That makes sense, because we start thinking about the game charades, it took me where I wasn't thinking about the actual charade that was being performed right in front of our eyes. Also, we got Chapel pretending that this is just a part of her job, that this wasn't because she loves Spock. She was putting on a charade. So yes, Win Grace, thank you. This is all part of the charade that was being put on, and the charade did not work at all with Amanda Grayson, at all. Now, it was mentioned in the episode that about Amanda and Pelia having a friendship. Pelia was off doing something with dilithium. Something happened with some dilithium, and she had to be present to fix whatever that was. I was hoping that maybe sometime later we'd hear about whatever adventure that she was on is probably not in the cards. It was just that she wasn't on the ship. You start to see Spock exploring these human emotions and becoming aware of the jokes, letting his guard down, basically. What we have is a Spock who is not Vulcan at all. So that Vulcan defense mechanism is down, but we also have a Spock who is more or less like a teenager, like a angsty teenager. And given the fact that Vulcans age differently than humans, that kind of made sense to me, that he would be in the throes of some type of hormonal shift at this stage in his development. When Gray says, I'm getting worried about Pelia. She's had about 7 minutes of screen time in total in 7 episodes. Yeah, she's not as big a part of the season as I thought she would be. Got a couple episodes left, so maybe we'll see them use her a little bit more. We see T'Pring and her husband, and I forgot her husband's name because the mother's personality stood out so much that I forgot the husband's name. The husband, again, he kind of deferred, especially in this case, and we're talking about the engagement party and whatever. He deferred to his wife, and while Vulcans doesn't seem to be a patriarchal society anyway, it shows that women are revered in certain areas of shut up phone. Women are their adults are revered. We saw that even in Monk Time in TOS. So yeah, we see the different dynamics between Vulcan females, and even the episode that was written in the 60s and human females. There's a distinct difference between the way they were written. Clarence is saying, yeah, he's liking Pelia too, and she's starting to win him over. He also said the husband was hilarious. The only thing more funny than the husband to me in this episode was watching Pike move around in the background of scenes. Just the looks on his face was everything to me. Anson Mount did an awful lot with just expressions. He didn't say anything, and I thought that he was a scene stealer, even though there's other things happening in the foreground of this scene, but you are taken by what Pike is doing in the background. I enjoyed Pike in this episode. I enjoyed everything about the episode. It was very good. Very good indeed. Now, yeah, Pike had a ball, yes. And all that couldn't be written. That is just how you react and respond to what's happening in front of you in the moment. Oh, yeah. Pike was everything. His expressions was just out of this world. And I mean, so much was said with just the looks on his face. So I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed T'Pring giving Spock a little piece of her mind. Like, dude, I've been by your side, both sides of you. In fact, you're Vulcan and you're human. I've completely accepted who you are for who you are. And you couldn't tell me that you had turned into a flipping human and allowed me to work with the full knowledge of what was going on. And, she's right. She's 100% correct. Now, also, she didn't realize that basically she gave him an out he's wanting an out because he's wanting to explore these feelings that he has for Nurse Chapel, and her being kind of hard on him. What looks like it is hard. She really is correct though. But what looks like she's being hard on him is really giving him an opportunity to, with a clear conscience, pursue these feelings with Chapel. Now, if y'all remember, way back when we first saw that Spock was having feelings for Chapel, I had the feeling that this is going to explain their reactions to one another and their relationship with one another in this season could very well explain why their relationship was so stilted in TOS, because everything was about Spock for Chapel. She loved Chapel in TOS, and Spock wasn't thinking about her. So something is going to happen that is going to make her fall, towards the wayside as far as any type of relationship, because when he goes to do his thing, the amok time, when he goes to get married on Vulcan to T'Pring, and then everything goes down the way it goes in TOS, he ain't thinking about her. Even after that situation resolves itself the way that it does in TOS, he comes back, he's not thinking about Chapel. Let's see. Yeah, Pike has some great expressions. Claire says, yes, I also see Chapel's heartbreak coming, and it makes me sad. Yeah, it's coming. And when it comes, I mean, when you start talking about somebody can be cold, Spock is cold in TOS. And again, I know I've said it a million times before, that is what makes the character so attractive to so many people. And not everybody is going to feel that way, but a lot of the women who are attracted to the character of Spock is because of his distance. It's like, how do you break through that? You don't. You don't break through it. He is the Ice King of Ice Kings. Oh, look at there. It's another Beyond the Holodeck question. Oh, gosh, which I forgot was there. Okay, it seemed like the TOS era couldn't go a week without stumbling on an exact Earth replica. Statistically, this is amazing. So, does that mean that there are perfect copies of other planets and civilizations to match? So, while I am waiting on you guys to maybe give me a response to that one, I'm going to give you my rating for Charades. While, again, I found it very hilarious. It was lots of funny. Some of the jokes landed better than others. But for the most part, this was another good episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Did not venture into the arena of being great for me. So for that one, I gave it a 4 out of 5, which ain't bad. And to be quite honest, I find myself most of the episodes have gotten a 4 or close to it out of 5. The only one that I think I gave a 5 out of 5 was Ad Astra per Aspera. That one moved me in a different way. Outside of that, the rest of them were good. They were the first one was all right, but everything else after that was good. And this was another good episode. So now, do you guys think that we see so many Earth-like planets? Why have we not run into planets like Vulcan, planets like Andor? Andor. I'm talking about a whole different. I'm talking about a whole different franchise. I'm sorry. Planets like Klingon, Kronos. Why Why are we not seeing those planets? You think that we will? You think they notice that, hey, we keep bumping into these Earth-like planets, but we've never run into one that's like any other planet in Star Trek? No other twin planets exist. And while saving the budget for the Gorn War, yeah, but I mean that okay, that explains in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, but there's a lot of other Star Trek, and we haven't seen an awful lot of replica planets of anywhere else besides Earth. But not this oh, wait a minute, I didn't read this. Maybe a heartbreak, but this all could end up being a separate universe. No. No, but not the separate universe. I hope not. No, I don't think it's a separate universe. And that's another argument that happens regularly on social media. Oh, TNG had a proto Vulcan world. I don't remember. I don't remember. The exact Earth replica was good for the time, but it's kind of an abandoned idea after TOS. But then we were still seeing them. We were still seeing worlds that looked exactly like Earth. I mean, it wasn't like the exact, on TOS, we were seeing exact progression the same way as Earth, but we were seeing a lot of Earth-like planets. Is it just that they sought out Earth-like planets and said, we got to make a stop here because this planet looks like Earth? Is that what they were doing? Is while we in the neighborhood of this planet that looks like Earth, let's stop here. And instead of doing that for every race. Oh, Claire says, I appreciate the volume, but now I can tell when they use it immediately. I can't say that I can. I can't tell yet. So, and maybe it's because I'm not like paying as close of attention as I think I am, but I can't tell yet when they're using the wall. I can't. So, Star Trek Strange New World Season 2, Episode 6. It's called Lost in Translation. It's written by Onitra Johnson and David Reed, directed by Dan Liu. The star date is 2394.8. Uhura seems to be the only one who can hear a strange sound. When the noise triggers terrifying hallucinations, she enlists an unlikely assistant to help her track down the source. And you said, speaking of, I'm starting to think the Gorn will attack Earth. They're going to attack someplace that looks like Earth. And I don't know if that's the last episode that we're going to see that in, because we haven't seen it yet. So I have a feeling that the final episode will be them. The episode is called, what is it, Hegemony? We're going to see them make an attack somewhere. And it is an Earth-like a planet if it's not Earth. Okay, so Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Lost in Translation. This episode was another one that was good. I felt pretty good about it. I didn't think that it did anything groundbreaking in Trek. However, it did give us far more insight into Uhura, how her mind works. Because while these visions and auditory hallucinations that Ramon was dealing with broke him down, it was breaking her down, but it was also attacking a center or part of her brain that she exercises regularly. So she got an opportunity to flex those muscles that she had been basically pumping up ever since she, hey there, Reinhardt. The exercise of the flexing of the muscle in the communication center of her brain, shows that these aliens chose the right vessel for their message. Now, how they tied Kirk into all of this, a part of me says we're overutilizing Kirk. Another part of me says these are interactions that we would have never gotten in TOS, what we never did get in TOS, we would have gotten in no other way, shape, or form except for in the movie in that universe. But his relationship with Sam, we see the difference between the brothers. We're seeing a Kirk that is closer to the Kirk that we know. Still's not Captain Kirk. He's Lieutenant Kirk, but we are seeing a lot of the characteristics that are front and center in Captain Kirk, and we're seeing how James T. Kirk becomes that iconic captain, and what role his relationship with his family, his brother, and his dad has played in making him the person that he is. It seems like James Kirk is chasing a ghost. It seems like the ghost that he's chasing is his dad. There are a lot of accolades that were bestowed upon his father that now he is looking. He knows that his father cannot do anything but be proud of him if he surpasses him. And while it's a cute little competition in his own mind, it is also diminishing the light that Sam is putting out, because Sam has something to add to the Star Trek universe, but we don't get to hear a lot about his additions and the things that he has given to Starfleet because of the greatness of his father and his brother. Let's see. Clarence says, I appreciate Lost in Translation so much more on the second watch. The ending felt abrupt, but it was all about the character moments. And when we go to that ending, I feel like that ending needed to be abrupt. We just needed to see these people who we know their future. We needed to see the first time that they sat down and chopped it up together. And it wouldn't be anything remarkable to them. They're just three people. But to us, we know what these three people, the foundation that has been laid with just those three meeting. So I feel like if they would have drawn it out, it would be almost like saying they know what their history is, or what their future is. And they shouldn't know. We know. And we're like, wow, this is an iconic moment. To them, it's just like saying hi to somebody on the street. You never know if you'll see them again. They're just somebody that you met. Now, so a part of me wasn't excited in the beginning. I wasn't excited to see Kirk. I'm like, they about to make this shit about Kirk. But I did like, we got to see again Kirk being Kirk. You need help, and I'm going to help you. You're going to accept my help. I cannot just sit here and watch you struggle. I'm going to help. And yeah, initially, I'm willing to bet that initially it was, I'm going to hit on her. But then once he realized that, okay, she's not in the mood for that, and I know I'm charming as hell, so it's got to be something wrong with her. Let me figure out what's going on with her. And he went on to help Uhura figure out her issues. We saw some more of her interactions with Himmer acting a bit out of what I thought was out of character from the Himmer that we knew last season. But after getting to know Uhura and building a relationship with her, it is 100% possible that even he let his guard down around her. Or we could be seeing this interaction through the lens of Uhura. This is not necessarily the way things went 100% down, but it's the way she felt it, because she had a strong relationship with Himmer in a short amount of time. Let me pick this up. Justice says they're similar type of planets, but not Earth. May look like Earthlings, but are not. TOS, it was an extract Earth with Earthlings, yet different history in some ways, but was called Earth. Kirk, soon to be number one on the Farragut, the youngest number one. So I'm wondering, how old is he supposed to be? Like how, okay, if he's the youngest number one, how old is this Kirk? Reinhardt says, I think it's funny, they still leave it to the imagination which brother is older, Sam or Jim. And honestly, I thought it was Sam. I could be wrong, though, because he's the youngest to make it through the ranks. And I would think that, not that Sam is close to becoming a first officer, I would think that it's even worse for Sam because his younger brother is passing him up. But you're right; they never made it clear who was the older, because Sam got the name. So Sam got the name, but James got the charisma. That seems like the ambition, and everything else is straight out of his daddy's playbook. But Sam got the name. Justice says, I believe there is too much Kirk kind of is taken from this crew. I kind of agree. Oh, you said you meant the resolution to the aliens was speaking of the speaking of the ending. And yeah, it happened kind of quick. But I think, yeah, it was like, yeah, we gotta end this shit somehow, right? So, yep, you guessed it right, Uhura, yay! And I like the trust that we saw Pike having Uhura, and saying, basically she was making the calls in that moment. And even though he said, I'll take the heat for this, if the higher ups, I'll say, this guy James Kirk rubbed off on me, but at the end of it all, yeah, he allowed her to make the calls. There was a lot of trust that went into letting her make those decisions. I also like the little B story where everybody was treating Pelia kind of a little different because of their relationship with Himmer and feeling like she was there to replace him. So that was another, that was another thing. It did fix some canon with Kirk and Pike. Yeah. With him saying, okay, he's temporary fleet commander. That's all they needed to say. That he's the fleet commander. So they did meet when he was a fleet commander. Now we can do whatever we want after this. So I appreciated that too. It felt like Uhura was a millennial using YouTube to fix calls. Yep, it sure does. I didn't think about it like that, but yes, she used a freaking tutorial to fix the comms, and she, it's almost like you're reliving. This is like what I say I want the kids to do whenever I'm gone. You better bring these videos out and let these babies see who their grandmama was, how goofy I was, everything, all of my, every aspect of me you can find in one way or another in these videos. So let my babies know who their grandmama is and what she loved through these conversations. And even though sometimes my mouth is a little potty, they would have loved it. I mean, they would have known that anyway, because my mouth, I do not discriminate. I will cuss in front of the kids too. Oh gosh. Reinhardt said, Tasha, they said that he was 30 when he became captain of the Enterprise, so he's in his 20s. makes sense. Wow. That is young. Claire says, Justin, I think I'm okay with Kirk because they're doing an okay job of weaving him in. I was against it before the season started. I just there's an opportunity to know this Kirk who is not Captain Kirk. He's not him yet. So that part of it I get, but I do want the I don't want the the uh the crux of the attention to be given on Kirk. And so far, we have not seen that. So far, we've seen him in alt universe versions of Kirk, and then finally, this is the first full episode that we get of Lieutenant Kirk, who's going to become Captain Kirk. So I'm good. Mm. And I guess that is one of the reasons why I'm questioning, because I know Paul Wesley is not 20 nothing, and you're not even no strike, no diss to him. He's not a bad looking man, but he don't look 20 anything. So why choose an actor that much older than where you're going? But I guess they have to, because eventually they're going to get to Captain Kirk. Paul Wesley is actually 41. Now, Justice said, I liked NTO as Pike was his legendary character, and Spock in that episode showed Pike was his guy, and he would even betray Kirk to help Pike. Yes, it was a demonstration of his loyalty, and we saw the same loyalty put to the test in episode 1 of this season of Strange New Worlds, where he was told, you don't go get La'an. She's not even part of Starfleet anymore. And he's like, okay, looks like I'll be going to get La'an. That's because that loyalty is a fundamental piece of who Spock is. It is part of his DNA. And no matter what changes we see go through Spock, that's going to change. That's going to stay the same. And it's the same with Kirk. There are certain aspects that are core to his personality, and we are not going to see that change. We might see him ease into a lot of other aspects of his personality, but he's charismatic and he is a problem solver. He is strategic. Those are things that are all Kirk that I like that we're seeing right now. We're not seeing the full Captain Kirk treatment, but we're seeing that those core parts of his personality are there, and I appreciate that. That's a bigger age gap than Ed Spaliers and Jack Crusher. Yeah, they found us some old 20-somethings. Oh gosh. Justice says, I respect people like Kirk on this show, but I'm out Kirk in this show. Sorry, it's just too soon for him, or this much of him this soon. Just my opinion. Yep. And everybody, feels differently. And I'm tempted to agree. The only reason that I can get on board with it a bit is because he's not Captain Kirk. But I agree that this is time that we are only going to get a finite amount of time with these other characters, and we need to get to know a little bit more about them. We know something about Kirk. We know Spock and Uhura, and we need to know some of these other characters much the same way. Right. Shat was about 35 when TOS started. Yeah, he was a younger dude. And it made sense then, even. Yeah. Of course, these 21st century 35 year and and the late 1960s 35 are some different animals. I mean, it really is. And that Shatner still looked young for, of course, that time. But him now looking exactly the way he did in 1968, he would not look 35 years old, So yeah, I think I think for some reason we look younger, or is it just because I'm older? I just think like, we need the Ortega's episode. Yeah, we do. I've got a feeling we're heading towards that, but at the same time, we need that episode. We needed it last season. Pike was 29 in 2009 track. That makes sense. That still was a long ass time ago. But yeah, Chris, people aged a lot faster in the old days. And I tried to make sure, I'm like, am I just being biased? But I think about my mama. My mama, when she passed away, she was 41 years old. And I'm pretty sure that I look identical to her. Like right now, if my mother at 41 was sitting right next to me, we look identical. And I'm 50. You know what I'm saying? So I agree. Wilford Brimley at 45 looks like a 60-year-old man. Now look, you're gonna make me Dr. Bryce, who everyone calls the old man from the cage, was 51. Dr. Boyce, I'm sorry. Okay, you're giving me the pictures over here on let me see. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? Chris, say it ain't so. I've gotta open this somewhere else so somebody else so y'all can see this. Now he said Wilford Brimley at 45 looked like a 60-year-old man. Now I'm about to show you the picture that he provided for Wilford Brimley. And you hold on to your butt. Oh gosh. That is a 45-year-old man. See, yeah, well, he was 48. Still, he younger than me. Yeah, man, it it just makes me think, wow. So yeah, you see, Samuel L. and Morgan Freeman, lifelong old men. Exactly. I think Samuel L. Jackson looks younger now than he did in some of the movies back in the day. Norm and Cliff in Cheers were like 30. He said people aged faster, all the cigarettes and bad nutrition. And I thought our nutrition was worse now. Excuse me. Gosh, I know my mom didn't smoke, didn't drink. Let me tell you what she did drink. Them Coca-Colas. Yeah, she drank Coca-Colas now. I think that's what did her in. She died of stomach cancer. So I am 100% not playing when I say I think them Coca-Colas did her in. But I know for certain that me and her right now look like my mama's twin, right, like right before she passed away. Wow. Okay. So I guess I could have been going through the pictures as we were talking. Now this nebula that they had, they named it after Melissa Navia's late partner, Brian Bannon. He passed away in December of 2021. And this was called Bannon's Nebula in remembrance of him. So I know that made her happy because if you follow her on social media, she was destroyed when her when her life partner, when he passed. So that was a good, a good way to show some respect to her and her loss. Now I saw something else come through over here. Let me see what that was. Sam Elliott. Now look, Sam Elliott. We can open that up. Let's see. Sam Elliott still looks good. He's just, you know, he's just gray. Yeah, but I mean, he don't look like. How old did you say he was in this picture? At 43, he don't look 43. He really does look older than 43. So yeah, I guess they lived a little bit harder lives. Yeah, like you said. Um, Now what else? And it, and you know, I'm becoming. He said that was 43. That's younger than him. Younger than you, right? He just they do look rough. I mean, for the 80s, the 80s was bad. Radar in MASH was supposed to be like 18 with a full receded hairline and giant bald spot. Oh gosh. Yeah, he really does easily look early 50s in this picture. Yeah. He was 43. Wow. Also, there's a lot of stuff to stop or slow the aging process now or surgery compared to the past. But I'm talking like regular people, like our regular people who don't get the only thing that I do to my face that my mom probably didn't do. As a matter of fact, I think she did. She just didn't probably have the right stuff. Is like moisturizing and using your day creams, using your night creams. You ain't about to stop the hands of time, but it just seems like it does move a bit slower for us. But yeah, seeing him brought a tear to my eye. I did cry. And seeing these two together and one of them not being dead was a good was a good look. Oh gosh. Uhura got to play around with weapons a little bit, and she got to be the hero. I appreciated that because those are some of the things that we really never got to see in TOS. Based upon the time that it was made, it was very rare that you would make a woman a part of an ensemble cast and be a hero. So I like the fact that they're using all the pieces to the cast and they are not dumbing them down because of oh, she's a woman, she can't do that. It does make it a bit more striking when we get to TOS from here, how the women kind of regress in their roles. The only badass woman that remained a badass was number one. And she, we only saw her, once, twice. So this is Pelia trying to let them know, hey, I'm not trying to take Himmer's place. I can never take his place. But I'm going to add my expertise and my personality to the collective. But she knows that she will never take Himmer's place in the minds and hearts of these people. And then we see the handshake. This is where it all starts, right here. And he's introduced by Uhura, and they had no idea that this is about to start a bromance for the ages. And I know some of us was like, well, look, they knew that they were the best or that they were the top of their respective positions within Starfleet. Yeah, but they did not know that they was about to become best friends. They didn't know. So that, oh, and I guess I better talk a little bit about, I liked a lot about what went on in this episode. I guess it just sounds like the same thing because I'm going to give this one a 4 as well. Um, I didn't think it was the best episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, but it's far from the worst for me. We still have to overcome season 2, episode 1. Season 2, episode 1, to me, is the bottom tier of 4 out of 5. It's always out of 5 for me. It's always out of 5. Yeah. And 4 out of 5 is like, that's what, an 8 out of 10. So it's not a bad episode. Was it stellar? No. Was it, to me, the worst episode that I've seen thus far has been season 2, episode 1. And that wasn't like, I will never ever watch it again bad. It was just like, it wasn't what I expected. So yeah, 4 out of 5. And pretty much this season has been 4 out of 5, with the exception of episode 1 and episode 2. Episode 1 was a 3 something out of 5 for me, and then episode 2 was, to me, a 5 out of 5, and then everything after that was a 4. Now Clarence is saying 3.5 out of 5, so I can see it. I can see it being anywhere between a 3 and a 4. I'm tempted, or I'm what do you call it? I am interested in seeing what Jonathan on Discussing Trek gives it, because he's given nothing less than a 5. I don't think. I think everything has been a 5 for him thus far. And this is not to say that there's anything wrong with him liking all of these episodes far more than I did. But I'm just interested to see what it will take for an episode to fall below a 5 for him. So I will be joining. I'll be joining. Now, see, I said we are not to mention, follow directions. We're not to mention episode 7. Chris says he liked it more before the final scene where the ensign orders torpedoes instead of the captain sitting right there. And you said, yeah, the resolution wasn't satisfying. You're saying that to Chris, I think, instead of Angus. But yeah, he could have let her. I mean, he could have called that out himself. I don't know what was the point of her being the person to say fire torpedoes, except for the fact that, hey, we got to get a great opportunity for Uhura to say some words that we never heard her say. Fire torpedoes. But yeah. Yeah, I got you. I think he got you too. When Gray says Uhura may have said it, but Pike had to confirm the order by nodding to La'an before following the order. I can get you that too. You like, I told her that we gonna acquiesce to her in this moment, but yeah, before we start firing off torpedoes, I think you better take a look over here. Makes me make sure that's what I want. Reinhardt said, Tasha, I was laughing because someone said who it was a genius. And I was like, do you not remember how many people they say she beat out to get that position? Of course she's a genius. Yeah. I think anybody, especially now, of number one, that they have confirmed, this is the flagship of the Federation. He was like, I'll stay over here on the flagship. So now we've got complete confirmation. This is the flagship. To be on this ship, you're above extraordinary. You're above extraordinary. And you see how how she, well, no, I can't say that. We'll talk about it another time. But but yeah, Uhura is a genius. And I think Sam, even though his light is not shining as brightly as his brothers, he too is a genius. He's not ambitious, but he's got the intellect. You wouldn't even be on that ship if you didn't have either the intellect or the skill. So a lot of people have problems with what's her name, or Ortega's, and oh, she's too relaxed, and she says this to higher ranking officers. If she would not be on that ship if she was not the best at what she's doing. So do they seem to kind of take a step back and say, you know what, we'll take a quirky personality, but we got to have the best person that we can put at this helm. We got to have the best person there. So we can accept her quirks and put her in the spot that she belongs in. Chris is feeling a little bit better now that he knows or realizes that Pike confirmed that order. What about other episodes like this that did it better too? You're going to have to give me episodes, because if there's an episode like this, and I can't think of one right now off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure you're going to give me one. If it was an episode like this that did it better, I'd probably rate it higher than 4. Oh, yeah, they sure do. Wait a minute. Reinhardt said, I left because someone on her review said Uhura was a genius. I was like, do you remember how many applicants she beat to get that position? Of course she's a genius. Of course she's a genius. Yes, she is. Sam and Burnham have the same job. And he said he likes Sam's work area / room. He's got some interesting things hanging around in there. That's something I need to kind of look at a little bit more. Because his brother is in that room, and there are some things back there that, like the Gorn stuff, is back there in his room. I'm looking at a picture. Let me see. He's got like a Gorn skeleton back here. He's got quite a bit back here, and if Kirk was paying attention, Lost in Translation felt like a TNG episode. I felt that too. I felt that. And again, was it the best? Was it the worst? I was really feeling the Uhura, this being Uhura centered, because we don't get a lot of that in any other iteration of Trek, and I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more of that with Ortega's and some of the others. You can give me some more Sam if you want to. Give me more Sam. I'll take it. Uhura had a hard go. The shuttle crash scene was tough. They do a great job of conveying emotion without any actual crying. Yeah, and she did cry. She actually shed some tears in this episode too, which I don't think it took away from the episode that she cried. I mean, literally, like, floodgates were open, crying. So yeah, I don't think it took anything away, as long as it doesn't become a fundamental part of the character, because we don't see that moving forward with Uhura. Chris says, I agree, Angus. It did feel like a Star Trek show. Sometimes they give us that, but they are also giving us rom-coms, teen dramas, musicals, and lots of other genres. And did we not get... Now, again, And I think that Angus said it best. Not Angus. Wingrace said it best way back in the top of our conversation, where he said those episodes get absorbed in a 24 episode season, not so much in a 10 episode season. So like this 10 episode season, and you see this rom-com, well then yeah, you feel that because that's 1/10 of this freaking season. Now you only got 90% of the season left because you had to sit through this rom-com, except for then next it's a teen drama, and now that's 20% of the season. So now you got 80% of the season to wrap things up. But then we got this damn musical that we got to get through. So if those things are going to bother you, I get it. I get it. Excuse me. But you got all of those things inside of, let's say, TNG. We had episodes that centered on Wesley and being, liking a little girl and trying to chase her. We got that. Rom-coms. We got the episode where Worf and Jadzia went to Risa, and Worf went all full insurrectionist on your ass. we had those things. So, but like what Grace said, those things were absorbed within this 24 episodes, and we are seeing it in our 10 episode season. Chris says, I like rom-coms, musicals, and I used to like teen dramas when I was a kid, but I watched Star Trek for the sci-fi, not to get a musical number. But the sci-fi is still there. I know you don't want to see the sci-fi, and the sci-fi is still there. We got Prophet and Lace. We gonna stop acting like these episodes don't exist. Oh gosh, the sci-fi is there, Chris. You are being a fuddy-duddy, and it is dinner time for me. So, at 8:00, I am going to be joining Clarence and probably Reinhardt. I'm going to be in the audience. I don't want to come over there coughing and hacking all over y'all. Nice little setup. Oh, Claire says, I meant to say this earlier when you mentioned the disco clip. My thoughts were faster, more intense. And it is like, a lot of shit's going to happen in the first 5 minutes. I can't wait to meet this Captain Raynor guy. So what we really need is more episodes of Strange New Worlds per season. That's basically what we that's the consensus that we've all come to, but we know we're not going to get it. We do need more. I would say at the absolute least, we need 15 episodes, but we're not going to get it. So now, if unless they decide to, for some reason, tune into this obscure live stream and say, you know what, that lady got a point. We're not getting 15 episodes, even though it would be nice to at least have 15. And then we're singing a different song when we get a musical. Because it's not 10% of this season. So while I'm trying to be understanding of the people, as long as it's the framing, well, I'm trying to be understanding of people who feel some type of way about the big swings that have been taken this season. I'm trying to be understanding because I understand that that's 10% of the season. And if this is something that you just simply don't like, then 10% of the season is gone. Now you got to watch another episode and hope that ain't another 10% gone. Whereas I feel like, give me what you got, frame it with some sci-fi, some characters that I give a damn about, and let's go. Come on, let's go, and move it to the next. Move on to the next. And if we don't like it this season, I promise you, there's going to be next season, and we can sit here together and do this exact same thing. Hopefully, God willing. I'm looking forward to September 7th, so that I can sit here and either hate every episode or every other episode of Star Trek Lower Decks, or like them. Surprisingly, I might like them. Oh, Lord. Wingray says, I do agree. I would like to get back to the new planet each week format, but that's not this season. Yeah, it's and you know what that is? It's money. It's money. And they made the promise of we're going to go to strange new worlds and blah, blah, blah. They made that promise when they didn't realize that streaming was not it. It should have started becoming painfully obvious that it wasn't it. But okay, now we are 100%. All of us know, everybody, it ain't no surprise to anybody in this chat. Streaming is not it. I thought it was going to be better too, but it ain't. I think we're finna have a drought coming for Star Trek. I can agree. And what they're going to do during that drought is going to speak volumes to how Star Trek moves on before that. During that time. How after that, we know we're supposed to be getting this movie, and they still talking Starfleet Academy, which, by the way, even though I'm gonna watch it if they bring it out, if they bring it out, I'm gonna watch it, but it's not high on my list. And just like Clarence says, we still got to get to the other side of a strike, 2 strikes. We got to get through to the other side of the writer strike and the actor strike. And listening to Bob Iger and some of the others, now you know that this was just something that was rumored to have been said, but they're like, yeah, when pretty much this is me paraphrasing, okay? Yeah, the writers gonna get hungry, and those bills gonna come due, and they're gonna have to come back to work. So all we have to do is wait them out. Now that's what our studios and the execs are saying. That's how they feel. We'll just wait them out. Eventually, they're gonna have to pay their mortgage. Eventually, their savings is gonna run out, and they're gonna get hungry. That is what they're saying. So instead of listening to these people and taking their concerns, which are valid concerns, and giving it some thought and coming to some type of compromise or consensus, they just gonna wait them out. And that's effed up. Justin says, it was fun and great chat, and glad everyone is doing better. Thank you. We over here, we all breathing again. 13 or 15 episodes would be great. Yes. Now, I don't know what the plus sign was for. I guess I should have got to that a little bit earlier, so I know exactly what you meant by that. Well, we have a full second season of Prodigy. It won't be on Paramount. Shaking my head. They have legitimate concerns. I don't blame them. I don't blame them either, especially watching the what was the name of it? Black Mirror. This past season, episode 1 of this new season. You watch that, and you can 100% see what their concerns are. And it's a conversation that we've had over here on this channel just a few months before all this stuff jumped off. So again, we talk about it, and then these things happen. And the very things that they are concerned about were some of the things that we discussed in that chat, where we were talking about using technology to bring back legacy Trek characters. So yeah. Stay strong, writers and actors, and those on strike. I stand with my fellow union workers. Right. And werewolves. Where's the werewolf? What are we talking about? Did I say werewolves? I don't know. Well, I know what I am gonna say. I'm gonna have to say goodnight. Because I'm gonna go and have dinner before I join Clarence and his crew over on Discussing Trek. So 8 o'clock, be there, be square. I'll be in the chat, and maybe I'll be more chatty this week. With all that, it has been fun. It's been great. I'll see you guys Wednesday. Where we will discuss season 2, episode 7, Those Old Scientists. Oh, I can't wait to chop this one up with you. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Live long and it sure was. Werewolf was another one, not werewolf though. Live long and prosper. Peace.